Thank you.
Yay!
Yay! I guess we're live, huh?
Yes, we are live and we are here with Mothers of Real Estate.
Yes.
Hi,
Melissa?
everyone.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Johnson. We have Peely, Stephanie, and our guest today is Bianca Tinsley, a friend of all of ours, back from the days. So I'm really excited to talk to Bianca today because she's going to be talking about mental health and depression. And I know you went through a lot of stuff last year with all that. And so excited to dig in and have you share your experience with everybody and kind of how you kind of what led up to that maybe. And then, we can talk about how you're coping with everything.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I am so happy to be here with you guys. You guys are all like just people that I look up to in the business and everything, and it's great to be here. So, but yes, I have since I was about 16, I've struggled with depression on and off. It's been something that's been really manageable for me. It's just been going to therapy and getting medication right and stuff like that. But last year it was not manageable at all. Last year it was something that I hit complete rock bottom. And I've had people in my life that have not gotten help when they should have, and it's resulted in terrible things such as suicide and stuff like that, and just not even being able to get back to a happy place and all of that. And so I knew kind of through the way I was brought up and through just people that I was around, when I saw them not getting help, I knew what happened when they didn't. And so I knew that it just led to them not ever getting to a place where they could enjoy life. And so when I started going through what I went through last year, it was something that I knew that I needed to get help, uh, but I wanted to get better really quickly. I'm extremely impatient. So I am a very impatient person. And so I had the idea that I could do kind of like quick fixes, I guess I would say, in order to get back to happy. And I knew that I needed to get better quickly because I have two boys. I have a 7-year-old named Cooper, just like Steph does. Is your Cooper 7 or 8, Steph?
He just turned 8.
Yeah, mine's going to turn 8 in about a month. So
that's awesome.
I have two boys, yes, and Cooper and Oliver, and they are 7 and just turned 6. And so I felt this kind of like a mommy guilt type thing where I didn't want them to really see me be not getting out of bed in the morning and not, functioning in a way that I feel a mother should, and just not smiling, not laughing, not being the mom that they're used to having. And so I didn't want them to see that. So I kind of was desperate, I guess I would say. So I went from one thing to the next very quickly. I tried things that I never thought I would try before. You hear about like the hypnosis, and like I don't have any kind of issue with hypnosis, but it didn't work for me, I'll tell you. So I tried that. I tried experimental type treatments that were very extreme and stuff like that, and just kind of because I wanted to have this switch flipped from being kind of non-functional and in this deep depression to the next day, like, boom, I'm better again. And it just doesn't work that way at all. So that is, and I know that like during this time, I called Peely too, because, and she probably remembers, Yeah, but I was like, what are you doing that you're so positive all the time? And like, help me. I just need help. And you remember that.
You're muted, Peely. Can't hear you, Peely.
There we go. I always do this. I was just remembering the time that you called, and when Becca said that she wanted you to come on, I was like, yes, yes, because I remember that happened. We had a few conversations, and I tried to give you some tips and tricks. And the thing is, I think you were at that point where you were past the tips, you were past the tricks, you were past like the I don't want to call it just like the one level, but you needed to dig deeper. So
Oh,
having this
yeah.
conversation with you is probably going to make me cry because I remember we were discussing things and you were in this just like this place, and I tried, but you needed, and I'm so happy when I found out that and you'll talk about it, the steps that you took to get yourself back to you and better than you.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of the way that I look at it is I was in therapy, and I've been in therapy for, ever since I was 16. I think therapy is so important. Um, and the way that I remember, like, was that I became obsessed with being depressed and like what could I do to get myself better. So, what you focus on expands, and all I focused on was my depression and like how could I get better? How could I get better? So what happened was I became in this pit that was so deep, and the way my therapist described it was you're in a hole. So you're in the pit of depression. You don't have a rope. You have nothing to get out, and you're just digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And I was in a scary place, you guys. Like, I was in a really scary place. It was something where my husband was.
That's my mom.
Hi, Mom.
They're saying hi.
Yeah, so my husband was scared to leave me alone. I became at this point where I thought people would be better off without me. Um, that I was not valuable to my family, to my friends, to just the world in general. And it became really, really scary, like to a point of where, like I said, my husband, I'm a realtor as well. So, like, my husband would not let me go to showings by myself. Like, he would be driving me to show houses, he would be driving me to like listing appointments, stuff like that, because I could not be trusted alone. Like, and it's scary to kind of think about. I mean, it's really scary to think about how bad I got, because it was one of those things where, like, logically, that, like, you have a great life, and that, your family loves you and that your boys need you and stuff like that. But emotionally, your emotions don't match your logic. So your brain knows something, but your emotions are telling you something completely different. And you're not able to kind of reconcile the two, and your emotions are just making you in this place where it's a really, really scary kind of black hole that you get in. And so the thing that made me realize that I had to take it to the next level and that I had to actually like go get help in a big, big way was, and this is where, I will try not to cry talking about it, but I was down, there's a creek that is behind my house. And I have told people this before a lot, but I was down there with my son, my oldest son, my 7-year-old. And he was playing in the water, and he was so cute and just, so innocent and everything. And he looked up at me and he said, "Mommy, why don't you smile anymore?" And he said, you have such a beautiful smile. Why don't I see it anymore? You're not happy. I just see you sad all of the time. Did I do something wrong? And when your 7-year-old asks you if they did something wrong because you're not smiling, that is the biggest like wake up call and like gut punch that I think that you could get as a mother. So I knew at that point in time that these quick fixes that I was doing, everything that I was doing that made me think, okay, if I can just do this, I'll get better. Like I knew that that was not going to cut it anymore. And so my husband and I started looking into things that we could do that were a little bit more extreme. Like I was a non-functional person. Like I was so depressed that like my husband had to get me out of bed in the morning. It was really, really bad. And so we knew that we had to go to an extreme route. And I never wanted to leave my family. And that's the thing, is that like I thought, I just can't leave them, that it's not okay for me to leave my children and everything. But the more that we thought about it, it was not okay for my children to kind of see me the way that I was. They needed a mother that was more present. They needed a mom that, was okay. And so we started looking into different programs and everything. And I wound up actually going to this place in Gatlinburg that is called Pasadena Villa. And it basically is like a live-in rehab center. So it's for people that have extreme depression, people that have issues with addiction, stuff like that. And basically what you do is you just have group therapy all day. You have individual therapy. My favorite part about it was they had animal assisted therapy, which was amazing. And there's something about, I don't know if you guys have ever, experienced that or anything, but there's something about, and I don't really like horses. Like I'm not really a horse person, but when I went to the animal assisted therapy, there's something in like just kind of like petting the horse and just being there next to it and guiding it and stuff like that. And they say, the animal therapists say that it actually lowers your heart rate, like just being around them and being around the animals and all of that. And so that was probably my favorite part about it. But I was there and I went in there and I had this attitude that I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to be here for 2 weeks and then I'll be better. And I go in there and I start talking to the people there and they're like, oh yeah, you're not going to get out of here for 4 to 6 weeks. No one gets out of here until then. So I didn't know it was like a thing, that you go to and like you don't leave until you're better. But that was the way that it is. I thought it was kind of something that I was like more voluntary and stuff like that. And it is voluntary in that you sign up to be there. But then once you're there, they don't have you leave until they feel that you are fully ready, which is wonderful. I mean, that's, you have to have that to where, because it would not be worth it. If I was just there 2 to 3 weeks, it wouldn't be worth it. I wouldn't be back to where I was okay. It would just all be for nothing. And so I wound up being there for 6 weeks. I met some wonderful people. I love helping people. So it's one of the things that really helped me was like kind of helping my friends there and like just helping them believe how important they are and really just not focusing fully on my issues, because I saw these beautiful people and there was actually an art room there, and it's so amazing. Like people that struggle, a lot of people that struggle with depression, anxiety, stuff like that, they're very artistic. And so it was beautiful. Some of the things that they were doing, the paintings, the pictures, like different artwork, stuff like that. And it was just kind of being around them and saying like, how could these people think these things about themselves? They are such beautiful, wonderful humans, and they're thinking that, they're not worth it's not worth them living, stuff like that. And like just kind of pouring into them and having them, and then kind of having the wake up call where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm actually a beautiful human. Like I'm actually a wonderful person that people need and all of that. And you just kind of like discover it together. And it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it was gorgeous, a gorgeous place. And it was weird because it's like you're in this beautiful place. I kind of call it like a beautiful prison because you're in this big like lodge that's in Gatlinburg, and there's windows all around it and everything, but you can't leave. Like they don't let you leave. You have to be in there and, you know, do the therapy and all of that. And it's just really, that's kind of where I found myself, really was through that, and just discovering like different ways. We started doing a lot of mindfulness stuff when we were there. We would do nature walks, we would do meditation, you know, just mindfulness, stuff like that. And it really resonated with me a lot. And so I kind of just started adding that into my life, and gratefulness and things like that. And I remember like I had it in my mind. I said, like, this is my goal is to go to my son's kindergarten graduation. Like I had that in my mind. That was like I had to get there. Well, I didn't get there. So I wasn't able to go to his kindergarten graduation. It made me very sad. But Paul was actually doing a Zoom or doing a FaceTime call with me, you know, while he was there and everything. And it was really sad that I missed that. But as I started to think about it, I was like, what's more important? A kindergarten graduation that, you know, he's probably not going to remember, or him having a mom that is happy, that is functional, that can, you know, be there for him and have fun and smile again and laugh again and stuff like that. And so it was hard for me that I missed it, but it was also something that it became something that I was really proud of, actually, that I had taken those steps and everything, and that I had given up that huge amount of just my just control and everything. I just kind of said, you know what, here I am, like I am not okay, and like saying that I'm not okay and that I need help and that I can't get better, you know, in a day through some random thing that I decide to do and stuff like that, and just really kind of completely surrendering was something that I became really proud of. And I tried to be there for my boys as much as possible in terms of like the time that I spent with them. I almost spent as much time with them as I would have at home. I just wasn't like present. So like in the morning when Paul would take them to school, I would be on a Zoom call with them the whole time, or FaceTime call, and be like talking to them about, you know, what's happening at school, stuff like that. When he would go and pick them up, then I would be on a FaceTime call with them, and how was school, buddy, you know, like stuff like that. And then when they went to bed, every night when they went to bed, we actually found this really cool like website where there's a lot of books that are just like kids books that are online. So every night I would read to them through a call like this. So we would get on and, you know, I would be on with them. Did you brush your teeth? Blah, 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 you know, stuff like that and everything. And then we would have our story time together. So like, it wasn't like I wasn't present in their life. It just me being personally there where they could touch me or all of that was not there, and that was very difficult. But mommy went to school to be happy again. That's what I told them. And
I love that.
and you know, I mean, and I told them like people break their legs, people get cancer, stuff like that. And oh, you guys will like this. This is so innocent and everything that my son said. But when I was telling Coop about it, my oldest, I said, Mommy's brain needs a little bit of work. Right now, Mommy's brain is broken. And, and I need to get it fixed. I need to get some help with that. And he's like, well, mommy, we'll just take you to the hospital and you can get a new brain. It'll be okay.
If only.
Right? If only were that easy.
You just like take this out, wash it off.
I have a question, Bianca. So was there something specific that happened that kind of set all this into motion for you? Or was it a series of small things kind of building up to where you just like couldn't handle it anymore? Or kind of what led up to that?
Right. So it was failure in my business, honestly. And it was not feeling like, I don't want to, let's see, how do I say this? So we're all in a mastermind group. Well, a lot of us are, and it is so near and dear to my heart. And I have so many wonderful friends there and everything. It is very different than it was a couple of years ago. And what I did not see is I didn't see then, and now I see, because people are being more open with it and everything. But back then, I didn't see anybody talking about their failures. So I just saw, like so-and-so made 50 grand on a house, so-and-so made 100 grand, this person's killing it here and there. And I was like struggling to pay my bills. I was, losing money on some houses, stuff like that. There was one that there was no way we should have bought. It was, a terrible decision on my part and loss and everything. And that kind of stemmed it, was just basically feeling like I was comparing myself to others, which now I don't do that. Now I just compare myself to myself and just try and get better every day. But I felt just completely inadequate. Like I was just not successful, and there were all of these people around me that were succeeding and I was just not. So that's kind of what stemmed it all. And like I said, things are so much different now in that group, and there's so much vulnerability and openness and everything, and I appreciate it so much. But that's kind of what led to it, honestly.
I think that's a really No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just wanted to say how I think that is so extraordinarily important to be real all the time. And when you're in a room with people that you admire or are, seeming to do pretty phenomenal things, it always makes you kind of check yourself and be like, well, how do I measure up? That's a very, very difficult thing to navigate. And it's even harder when people aren't telling you the whole truth, when people, just show their Instagram world, which is, of course, what we all want to share. Like, I want to be perfect. Who doesn't? You know what I mean? I want to have the perfect business, and I want to have the perfect family and marriage. We all do. And it is to our detriment. It is so devastating to our circle when we do that. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to start this podcast, is to let's just be real about stuff. And let's talk about the hard issues. And what I think is so admirable about your story is I feel like you tackled that probably the most difficult thing head on. And that's, I'm a mom and I'm not okay right now. And admitting it and then doing something about it. Because I can tell you, I have a million instances where I have felt like I am not okay, but I've been so guilty that I can't step away. I can't even go go get my hair done or take a nap because my kids need me. I've got to do this. I can't possibly take any time for myself because I've got all these responsibilities, and kids obviously are a huge one. And what I admire so much about you is that you identified it, did something about it, and had a happy ending. I don't think that means that everything's perfect and you'll never struggle with anxiety or depression again. I think that's part of all of our lives. What I love is that you tackle it head on, and I love that you're willing to talk about it. I think your story will change people's lives, and I think we should keep talking about those moments where we feel totally overwhelmed and out of control.
What I also love too is that you're talking with your kids about it, not just other kids, because this is something that I've learned about too recently is emotions and things like that. And our kids do see us struggling sometimes. I'll be honest, I had a meltdown last night. I was crying in the living room, and my son came in, and he's just like, Mom, what's wrong? And your first inclination is to protect them, right? We don't want them to know that mom's sad or mom's upset, because we're protecting them. But it's really not doing them any good if we don't have those conversations with them. And you don't have to go into detail, but like I just told him, Mommy's just kind of sad right now, and he gave me a hug. And he was like, okay, bye, like ran off. But, it's like if he can see, if your kids can see you, if you're upset and you talk about it with them, then that teaches them not to suppress their emotions too.
Exactly. They see you work through it. They see you work through those emotions. Otherwise, they just feel like no one else has these feelings but me.
Well, then if they ever run into what you're experiencing, they'll want to talk about it with you. They'll feel free to do that.
Yeah. One of the things that was really just impactful for me with the therapy and the rehab and all of that was just the concept of feeling the feeling. And so that's one of the big things that we kind of preach to the boys is you have to feel the feeling because you're not going to get past it if you don't. One thing that, people always mean well when they say things like, don't cry, stuff like that. But it's really important that we cry. It's really important that we feel the feeling. Because if you don't feel the feeling, it's just going to kind of fester and it's not going to be able to pass. Even if it's, if it's something negative, if you're just sad or, something like that, you're sad, you're mad, whatever emotion you're feeling, just to actually feel it. And then, you get back to happy a lot quicker once you can kind of get through that. So that's one of the things that really helped me. And honestly, the biggest thing that I did for myself, and I've had a couple of friends that have said this as well. And I love Rachel Hollis, and I went to her conferences a couple of times. I love her books. They have really inspired me. But something that she talked about in her conference, and then what a couple of my friends have actually talked about recently, is that how freeing it is to turn your mess into a message. And that is basically what I did. I turned my mess of, the depression, the anxiety, all of that, everything that I went through. I turned it into a message for people. And I'm very active in my community. So I knew that there were going to be people talking like, where's Bianca? Why isn't Bianca at this class party? Why isn't Bianca, at the event at school? Stuff like that. And so I didn't let them. I told my story for myself and I kind of let it out. I just went on, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I went on my Facebook and I share it every month because I just know that I get new friends on there and everything. And I like to help people. So I just went on there and I told myself, like, when I get better, when I get to a point where I feel better enough, then I'm going to share what I went through. And I did. And this enormous weight came off of my shoulders when I actually said, hey, I have struggled with depression. I went to rehab. That's why I was gone. Like, I just owned all of it. And when I did that, it was like, people can't talk bad about me, behind my back. Like, I'm saying, yes, I was in rehab and I'm saying it and I'm not sorry about it. I'm not, I'm not embarrassed and everything.
It removes the stigma right away.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, I think, one of the biggest things that I did was just putting it out there. And I get people that reach out to me all the time about, like, stuff that they're going through depression wise and stuff like that. And that's what I want. Like, I feel like I went through what I went through so that I can help people. And I'm really passionate about it. It's my dream to open up a nonprofit in our community that provides free or reduced therapy and group therapy for people that are struggling with mental illness, because I think it's just so important. But
tell us, Bianca, too. I mean, I think your daily routine and the things that you're doing to to keep yourself well and to keep yourself happy and centered are amazing and super inspiring. Can you tell us a little bit about what you kept doing and your technique, your like little strategy now?
You want to know about my miracle morning?
Talk about it, girl.
Yeah. So I read this book after I actually joined a real estate team, and we had a book club, and we read this book called The Miracle Morning. And I was not a morning person at all. Like before I got the big bout of depression, all of that. Like even when I was good, when I was feeling good, I was not a morning person. I read this book, and the book was written by a guy named Hal Elrod, and he basically studied some of the most successful people in the world and everything, and like what they did and they all got up early. That was one of their things, is they all got up early in the morning, and they all had this time kind of to themselves. And then some of them did things like meditation, they did affirmations, gratitude, silence time, exercise, stuff like that. And not all of them did everything, but he decided that he would put everything into a morning routine. So it's called the SAVERS. That's what the acronym is for it. And it's silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and then scribing. So that's what I do every morning. I get up at the crack of dawn. Well, actually kind of before the crack of dawn. I get up at usually around 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just do that. And a lot of times I watch the sunrise, and I just kind of like, as you guys know, I have my camper. So I go out in my camper every morning, and
I was
kind of like
mention your camper.
place. Yeah, and that's done a ton for me too. Like just having my own space that I can go to, and just kind of like that's my special place. Like my husband isn't allowed in there, so that's just kind of where I can relax and all of that. But yeah, the morning routine has been absolutely amazing for me. I don't always do it, every single day, do everything, but a lot of times I do that. So, and then I'm writing a book as well. So that's also been cool. So
I'd love to hear too, and this is something that we haven't really dove into in like our, in our talks, just, as friends, but I would love to hear how this affected your marriage. And I mean, it seems like you and Paul are stronger than ever, and that you are on the same page. I'd really love to hear how that tied in.
Yeah. So me and Paul, it's like all relationships, we struggle. But the biggest thing I guess I would say about him is that he is there for me all the time, like when it matters and everything. And like he completely stepped up whenever I was going through all the depression and everything. He just was like, I've got it covered. Like he set up to have an assistant manage like my real estate files for my sales. He was covering the business, taking care of the house, the kids, doing his day job, everything. And he said, I just want you to focus on one thing, getting better. And just kind of took everything, else off of my plate. And yeah, so it's really kind of shown me how much he cares. And I have a wonderful husband. So I'm very blessed in that department. As far as my mornings, he likes it and he doesn't like it. He likes it because I am doing things that are good for myself, but also I pretty much fall asleep on his lap on the couch at 8:30 at night. So he's like, you're exhausted by like 8:30 or 9. We don't get any time together at night, but I'm working on it. It's just, yeah, it's good. But for the most part, I mean, yes, it's really important. I feel like during those hard times, that's when you discover what your partner what they really think about you, how important you are to them and everything. And he always made me feel like I was important.
I think it's important to have that support system too, when you're going through something like that, and knowing that you've got, somebody's got your back through all that.
Such a Bianca, I honor your story. I honor you. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I mean, I think it's something I've been wanting to ask you for a while, and I hop on your page every so often just to check on, see how you're doing, and see how you've moved on from
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
traumatic event. It's crazy. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing.
And for those of you who don't know her, I mean, Bianca is incredibly successful and intelligent and creative. Like, your projects are amazing. The renovations
Oh,
that you're doing and like the things you're putting together, the way that you're building the passive income with your rentals and your Airbnbs. You just bought a church. I mean, Bianca is amazing and incredibly humble. Like, what she thinks is a failure is like somebody else's, you know,
Huge win.
exactly, huge win. So, I mean, what you've accomplished is phenomenal. I just love that you're just so open about the other side of the success too, and the pressure that we all feel when we get a little momentum and when we get in front of other people who are doing the same thing. Like, there is a backside to success, and that's that pressure and anxiety and depression. And I think all of us can relate to that, and the fear of
yeah.
being an imposter too. Like, no one knows the real side of me, but we talk about it and
Right.
realize, oh, everybody feels at least some part of this.
Yeah, and I love what you guys are doing with this. I really do, because I think one of my main issues, like, actually, it's getting to the root of the problem. Like, the root of the depression, I think, was loneliness. And like, just not having people around me that I could trust, and that I knew loved me and had my back, and like that I loved. And now I have so many of those people, and it's so wonderful just to have these connections around me and everything. And Steph knows we have a million messages coming through a day on our girls group and everything that we have. And it's so nice to have people that we know have our backs and that love us. And you guys are really doing that with this. You're creating a safe place for women, which I love.
The other thing that I love about you, Bianca, is that you've given so many women the permission to step forward and acknowledge that they are not feeling good, that mommy isn't happy, or mommy needs some help, or mommy's brain just needs to be fixed. You stepping forward and doing this and then sharing your struggles, sharing your story has been instrumental in so many people's lives. Even today, I can't wait to hear not how much you just touch our lives, but how many lives of women, men out there who maybe there's someone significant other out there that's listening to your story and they're like, that's how my wife is acting right now. Maybe I need to pay a little bit more attention to that. Or that's how I'm feeling right now. Maybe I need to pay attention to that. And for all of you, and there's a lot of people who are listening now and who are in these great big masterminds that are amazing. Seven Figure Flipping is amazing. It's an amazing mastermind. But don't only look at the surface. Like, from what Bianca was saying, I remember that time. I remember everybody was just like, I'm making this much money. I'm making this much money. But truth be told, I mean, Bianca, I think you remember our discussion. I told you we're coming out of Seven Figure Flipping. We didn't do the flipping thing very well. So we're moving on. We tried that. It didn't work for us. And there's so many people that don't make that and don't feel like they can make that realization public that they're failing. And
Right.
and it's hard for others, especially if you're looking up to those people who are always putting out their wins. It's hard for them to really like grasp the fact that they can fail too.
Right.
So thank you for
Yeah.
you, Bianca.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. It was great.
Ladies, do you have any other questions for Bianca before we let her go?
I just want to thank her for being so brave. Everything that you do, Bianca, I think is just so freaking brave.
Thank you.
I want to just reach in there and give you the
I know.
gold.
I was just going to say, I just want to hug her.
I know. We're so grateful for you, Bianca. You've made a big impact on me in my life, and I'm so grateful that you're my friend.
I think we're all grateful to you, Bianca. Thank you.
Oh, well, I love you guys and bring us all away. But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. And I'd love to hear if you were, if this touched you too, give Bianca that affirmation too, that her bravery is felt by, by other people as well, and that we're continue to normalize what we all go through all the time, that we all feel all the time, and I love the strategies.
I challenge you mamas out there to acknowledge that pain that's within you. And if you need help, seek it. I mean, I can tell you that postpartum depression is no joke.
Yeah.
And I kind of like powered through it. Should I have asked for help? Yeah, probably. Actually, 7-figure flipping, I think I might have told you the story, was my answer to postpartum depression. And you all brought me out of that. So acknowledging things like that, I challenge you all to acknowledge it and ask for help, whether it's calling a friend, calling a doctor, calling a therapist, calling someone calling one of us. We're here. We'll listen.
Yep.
Thank you so much, ladies. You guys are awesome.
Always.
Let's give Bianca some more love right now. How awesome is she? How awesome is she?
She is awesome. That's a hard thing to go through, and especially just to talk about, like with strangers, with your family.
It's like one of the, I remember when I don't know if I was walking or running, and I saw that, I think we were going back and forth, and she was like, Peely, can I call you? Can we talk? And we talked, and sometimes, and this is something we have to listen for, I didn't realize where she was at. That wasn't going to take a quick fix. So kudos to her for taking charge and realizing that she needed to take that next step and take a hold of her life and give herself a moment to reflect and heal, just as a mama, as a person, as someone who she knows she's been handling her. She's been in therapy since 16. And it sounds like everything came to a head, and I give her so much credit and so much love and so much support for making that decision.
Yep. It's a tough decision, and it's good. It's just like that saying, whatever, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Right. And she was brave enough to do the hard thing in order to be able to, be there for those kids and for her husband and for herself.
Yeah. And she did the even harder thing is she told her story. And I can't wait for that book she's writing.
I know.
So Bianca, if you're listening to this, we came back on, or we stayed on to talk about you, all good stuff. Let us know when that book is out, because it'll help so many people out there. I think we're good. This is an awesome show, ladies. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering where Becca is, Becca was again taking care of herself and her business. I think she was at a retreat with the other 7-figure members, just the leaders. Because of COVID, they had to put their mastermind online, which was amazing from what I've heard. But the leaders of the group got together and really took their lives to the next level. So Becca, we missed you today, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye, Melissa. Bye, Stephanie. Mwah. Aloha.